Hi, welcome back to Friend Crush. I'm Amber Akilla, and today's episode is about deactivating Instagram. Why did I do it? What did I learn? And why maybe you would want to do the same just for a bit, because I think we just have like information overload, and it's really important to create space in your mind to actually like process your thoughts and feelings and figure out who you are and what you want. And I think that when you're constantly consuming external information, it becomes really hard to create that mental space. And my mental health is like really important to me because it can feel so unstable. So a lot of my energy, especially this year, has just been dedicated to finding better tools to just regulate my emotions, better process my thoughts, and understand like human behavior, psychology, developing spiritual practice. And I think I got to a point at the beginning of November where I wasn't in like a bad mental state, but I could see that there was like a gap that I needed to close. And I was really honest with myself that one of the things getting in the way was going on Instagram every day. And I think once you understand how these companies, like, they spend millions of dollars to keep you on the app as much as possible. They're literally designed to suck your attention and profit off it. I mean, if you've watched The Social Dilemma, etc., like one of the main takeaways that I got from that documentary, even though there are many criticisms of it, is that all the people that design these social media platforms, they too are subject to the like tools that they use to keep people on them. Even though they consciously know and understand how these mechanisms work, the guy, one of the guys is like addicted to email. Another guy is like works at Pinterest and still can't get off Pinterest, is scrolling on Pinterest till like 3 a.m. or whatever. So I think, when you can just accept that it's not your fault that you feel addicted to social media, then you can be more honest in terms of what you can do to create a healthier relationship with it. And for me, because I have been away from Shanghai this whole year, basically, and now I'm in Perth, which is a very small town slash city. The surroundings are very calm and peaceful, and COVID is for the most part under control here. When I was going online, I would just see like chaos. Like other places are completely out of control, so many social issues that I wish I had the power to do something about, but currently there's very little that I can do. And I just felt like I was hemorrhaging mental and emotional energy. And sometimes actively and sometimes just like passively, like when you're just scrolling, you're still processing, analyzing photos and information. And I realized in my time off of Instagram that even though I really like to share ideas and thoughts, etc., and I am partial to an Instagram story that is just text, Instagram is a visual platform. It's like a gallery. It's not a textbook. And I think the way that people are trying to turn it into an educational tool is like good and bad. Like it's good that you can share information that would prompt people to dig deeper, but at the same time it can kind of make people complacent into just reading these little infographic posts and feeling like they are better understanding very complex issues. Like it is really hard to reduce a lot of social issues in particular down into just a little Instagram post. And I think you can very easily just think like, oh, I read this, I saw this, and I feel like I contributed something. But you haven't really taken the time to understand and learn about these things if you're spending most of your time on Instagram. And I don't think you have to dive deeper into every single thing that you're exposed to, but then you might not be diving deeper into anything at all if you're just constantly on there. And that's just like a trap that I felt like I was starting to get into. I guess I am opinionated, but also impressionable. And I just wanted to create more space between other people's opinions and my own. And ultimately, I think like accepting that you are constantly getting rid of old information and ideas and replacing them with new information and ideas, and accepting that you'll never really know anything. Also, just being open-minded. Like, I don't feel the need to have to always take like a hard stance on any particular issue, especially ones that I don't feel like I have a deep understanding of. The downside of that is wanting to see and understand all different points of view. And I think just taking a little bit of time off was good, because then I could just recenter, focus on myself, and not kind of arriving from a depleted place. I want to feel recharged. So, yeah, another reason why. Something that's really important in general, but especially this year when it's been so uncertain and chaotic, is learning to reconnect with the present moment and practicing gratitude. And I think when you are on Instagram too much, you're just comparing yourself in all these different ways in a subconscious way. If you don't kind of sever that tie or that habit, it can just become really toxic over time if you don't know what is coming next for you. We never really know, but more than ever we don't know now. So like, my surroundings are so peaceful, but I just mentally felt like so exhausted and so run down, and I should really just be, or not should, I really wanted to just be able to enjoy this time that I'm privileged enough to have to myself, to think about who I am, what I want to do. Because whenever I'm back to work and back in Shanghai, I'm not going to be able to carve out as much time, and I'll be longing for another gap year. And I didn't have a gap year between university and work, so I think I've been really lucky at the same time to have been in this precarious situation that I'm just trying to make the most of. So the reason why I deactivated instead of logging out was just that I felt like if I just logged out, I would still be tempted to like go online on my phone, go online on my laptop or on other devices just to like see what's up. And I really just didn't want to see anything. I think my friends would send me links to like funny memes, and I would see the link, but Instagram wants you to be on their app as much as possible. They want to collect as much data about you as possible. So if you are not logged in or you don't have an account on Instagram and you are looking in a browser, it will limit the amount of information you can see until you log in or you open an account. And I think they only allow you to deactivate once a week now. So I accidentally logged in from looking at a link someone sent me. And I wasn't able to deactivate for another week, but in that week I didn't go online. I didn't log in, and they sent me an email saying that I had unread DMs, and I have my email notifications turned off for Instagram. I have all my notifications turned off for Instagram. I always have, and I think I always will. And for the other accounts that I have that were just idle, I would get emails about, oh, it looks like you're having problems logging in. Do you need help getting back online? Like, they just want you to be on there as much as possible. That's the way that the apps are being designed now, like this attention economy situation. So, when I had spoken to friends IRL or off Instagram about not being online, everybody said that they want to take time off too, or they feel like they're addicted to social media. And for me, it's not enough to just acknowledge that I feel like I'm spending too much time on it. I want to actually do something about it and see if my life is any different if I'm not on there, or see if I feel or think any differently when I'm not on there. So that's why I decided to deactivate for a bit. And, people could say like, oh, but isn't it important like for your business to have to be online? And I'm not really working this year. I'm doing little things here and there, but my creative output is honestly not a priority for me right now. My like mental and spiritual, physical well-being is what I'm prioritizing while I have this time. So to me, I'm lucky that it doesn't matter that much to me. I think I don't want to be the type of person that's like, if I don't post a picture every day, then my career is over. I think in the scheme of the entirety of what my career will be, a month offline isn't going to make that much of a difference. I mean, already it's only been, what, like a week and a bit since I've been back on. And it's like I never left. Now I want to get off again. But yeah, that is just an excuse, I think. Like, why limit yourself into thinking like, oh my God, I need inspiration from Instagram. I need to be in touch with everybody or whatever. Like, I knew that the people that I am really close with, I can speak to off Instagram. I have their phone number, I have them on WeChat, I have them on WhatsApp. You know, I can speak to them offline. And the people that I'm only connected to on Instagram, like, they'll probably still be there when I'm back on. And it's not like a value judgment of people. It's just like, some connections some people you're closer to and some people you're not. And for some people your relationship exists only on Instagram, and that's okay. And you take time off and you come back on, and it's whatever. So I think being able to have more like intentional conversations with people, because we're actually reaching out to each other. Like, I really don't like having in-depth conversations in Instagram DM. So being able to call my friends or have a actual conversation with them was good, knowing that that's possible, knowing that it's something that you kind of need to do because you're not on Instagram, not reacting and responding to everybody else's life and your own. And for me, like, I think I'm pretty past the point of like physical comparisons when I'm on Instagram. Like, I know that a lot of people talk about the way that, influencer culture can create insecurities in people. And for me, I think I've done a lot of work on my relationship with my body and with beauty and aesthetics. And I also know how much time and effort it takes to take a good picture. So I'm not really like feeling personally attacked by anyone else's content, like in a visual sense, at least. I always appreciate, you know, nice images that people post. And I'm like, oh my God, I wish I could put more effort into posting a nice picture, knowing that, but also like accepting that maybe that's not what I want to do right now, and just be able to appreciate it and accept it at that. But I think my main thing is that I'm really addicted to just like knowing and understanding things. And I know that I will never know everything. So I'm always wanting to learn and understand more. And I think the way that people share information on Instagram isn't the most nuanced way to share information, because it is a visual platform and it's hard to communicate complex concepts just through like a post or a story or a reel or IGTV even. So, I think for me, it's more sustainable for me to like read a book, read an article, read a journal article about something I'm interested in, and then form opinions and understanding through that. Instagram is also a good prompt sometimes, but I didn't feel like I was getting that much out of it information wise. I was just kind of like looking at processing things that ultimately didn't really serve me in terms of developing understanding for whatever I'm trying to learn about. So it just took up a lot of mental space, a lot of mental energy. Like, we all have a limited amount of willpower every day, and I felt like I would just get up and at some point go on Instagram and just be on there for like 2 or 3 hours. Who even knows? Like, I don't even understand time anymore. But yeah, just kind of looking at stuff, and then when I'm off the app, I'm like, oh, I didn't really even do anything that productive. And also just seeing too much outrage. Like, I completely understand that people are outraged about different things, but for where I was at the time, it was just like, I don't even have the energy to like mentally separate myself from other people's pain. Like, I think that I have a tendency to really want to like problem solve and help people to a point where it becomes detrimental to me. So I just needed to set better mental boundaries. And I think not being on it for a bit was more effective, or was going to be more effective than like trying to manage the amount of time I spent a day on there. Because even though I have like a limit for my Instagram screen time, I still find myself like hitting ignore or like another 15 minutes, whatever. So yeah. But I will say that in general, my screen time didn't decrease. Like, I was still watching YouTube videos, reading stuff online, looking at Tumblr, looking at Pinterest when I wanted to look at pictures. But I just appreciated being able to separate text and images for that time, so I could just appreciate pictures and then I could read text when I wanted to read it. And now that I'm back on, I feel like I just have better mental boundaries in terms of what I do and don't want to look at, because it is impossible to really know everything. So I'm trying to just focus on the areas that I do want to develop a deeper understanding of, and other things that don't align with that are not my concern right now. You know, it's hard to spread yourself so thin, just knowing a little bit about everything and not really understanding anything. Like, I prefer to just dig a little deeper where I can, and also just like take time off from having to think about stuff all the time. I think boredom is really important in terms of like mental rest and creating space for, you know, your intuition and your authentic self to come through. You're not going to find that just by looking at other people's stuff. You know, like, you can only compare as a way of like learning what other people are doing, and is that something that you're interested in, is it something you're not interested in. And that's different to thinking that you should do something for social acceptance. Like, one thing I've thought about a lot this year is like, what do you want versus what do you think is expected of you? And in therapy, you know, this concept of like really getting in touch with what your values are and acting in accordance with them is how you live an authentic life. And whenever you deviate from your values and your behavior, then that's when you start to kind of have like a psychological dissonance, and you can become like dissatisfied or depressed or anxious. So that's kind of been like really important to me this year. And it's not that I'm comparing myself in a detrimental way, but it's just like, it takes energy to resist the urge to do that. And the urge to do that always comes up when you're on social media, just because you're looking at other people's life, looking at other people's thoughts, looking at, you know, just all of this information that's being scattergunned in your face. So that takes energy too, to just be on there and to have to resist that. And I think it just takes practice to get to a place where you can be on it and have those boundaries. You know, like, you don't necessarily just set a boundary and then, you know, the boundary's there forever. It's a matter of like protecting that boundary, protecting your mental and emotional space. You're always going to be faced with these external things that you can't control, but you have to continue to set that boundary. And that takes time and effort. And I just felt like I didn't want to spend so much time and effort doing that. If I could just take some time off completely and then come back on with a fresh perspective. I think after just a week, my brain already felt different, because I wasn't just kind of like scrolling and having this like crazy slideshow in front of me at all times. And yeah, I mean, if you don't feel like you can be off for a week, for a month, I think just a week is good. It's important to be in touch with like your physical surroundings in order to feel grounded. At least for me, I can't just constantly have my brain online and feel like in touch with my reality. And then I kind of lose touch with myself when I'm not feeling physically, mentally, emotionally grounded. And yeah, like you don't really have much to lose by just being off for a little bit. And I think people think in a binary, like you're either on social media or you're not on social media. And it doesn't have to be like you have to delete all your social media at once. Like you can just, embark on a journey to better manage your time and energy on social media. And if that takes a week, a month from being offline for a bit, so be it. Like you can let your friends know that you're just going to be off for a bit and they can contact you via other platforms. But yeah, I feel like because, there's so much uncertainty this year, we feel very disconnected from whatever plans we thought we had for ourselves for this year or for the foreseeable future, which we now have to recalibrate, and feeling disconnected from ourselves because we don't have that certainty, feeling disconnected from the people around us or the people that we love physically, emotionally, whatever. So it's important to then kind of like look back within ourselves and rebuild your sense of self if it feels lost, and figure out who you are. What do you want? What are you going to do? Nobody can tell you that. That's something that you have to answer for yourself. And it's not always a linear path. Like you can spiral up, you can spiral down. You take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 5 steps forward, 1 step back. It's just like experimenting, I think, and figuring out what does and doesn't work for you. And sometimes, I don't know. I don't know why people think it's such a big deal to just be off Instagram for a bit. Some people don't. I have a lot of friends who just are always on and off. But I encourage it, stick it to Mark Zuckerberg for a bit and tell him that he's not going to be able to commodify your attention. And you're going to divert it elsewhere to Google instead of Facebook, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know if this was helpful at all, but I think if you're feeling really just a little bit scattered, which is how I've felt for a lot of this year, which I think is completely normal, like acknowledge the fact that it's been a crazy year and this is a normal response, but what are you going to do to manage that feeling or work through this experience? There really isn't anybody else that can do that but you. So we have to take responsibility for our own mental, emotional, physical health. And yeah, thanks for listening. Let me know if you have any questions. You can find me on Instagram at AmberAkilla, at friend.crush. And I hope you are all doing okay and looking after yourselves. And never assume that you've peaked. I never assume that I've peaked. I think life can only get better and more interesting. And it's going to be painful, but the payoff is the highs of life. You can only, your highs will only be as high as your lows. So let yourself feel how you feel. Know that you don't have to act on how you feel. You can just embrace the feeling and let it pass. Know that it will. Know that sometimes your thoughts aren't always accurately processing your emotions. Really get in touch with that. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye.